Well, good afternoon. We are so excited to be with you. We are back downstairs in the basement where actually this all of it started down here. Our very first episode, I think, was here with the Jesus wall in the background.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems like so long ago, I couldn't remember.
We had more comfy chairs then.
Yeah, Jesus was just a boy way back then, I think.
Indeed. It's been 24 long, hard episodes.
Wow.
This is number 24.
Wow.
Next week, I think we get a discount on our insurance.
Yeah.
I think that's how that works. Show insurance goes down at 25. So anyway, welcome. We're so glad you're here joining us for Chatting with Chuck. I'm Vicar Jason, and we're going to start just like we do every week, with a word from God's Word with Pastor Chuck.
I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and it's going to be a little bit about what the message will be about this weekend. But just a few words from Ephesians chapter 6. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against the powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore take up the full armor of God, that you may be able to resist in the evil day, having done everything to stand firm. And he goes on, he lists the armor of God. But what I think about is this becomes a time when we look at all that's happening in our nation, with all the not just the protests, but even now riots and shootings and burning, and on top of all that, we have all this election stuff going on that is never really pleasant, let's be honest. And a lot of times, especially as we watch the news, they're always blaming people, and it's easy for us to fall into that trap and really get upset with people. And there's some reason to be some upset with people, but that's not really who our enemy is. People are never the enemy. We may get upset with people now and again, but remember who we're really mad at, and it's not people. Jesus came to die for people. He came to die for us when we were sinners and rebellious and did everything contrary to what he wanted us to do. And these people that we see doing all these terrible things, Jesus died for them, and that's what they need to know. And we don't want to live with fear of those things. We want to live in victory over those things and see beyond the hurt and the pain and see the heart. These people need to be held accountable for some of the things that are happening. I agree with all that. But remember, the problem is sin. The problem is the devil, who seeks to steal, kill, and destroy. And the only way we can overcome that is Jesus Christ. That's where we need to focus our attention right now and be about sharing the truth and the hope of Jesus.
Thanks, Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're going to answer your questions in a little bit. But before we get to that, we're gonna answer or just talk about a few things that are going on around here. So if you have questions that you would like Pastor to answer, you can go ahead and leave them in the chat, and I will ask Pastor those questions in a little while. But first, let's talk about some things that are coming up here. We've got a parking lot service coming up on Wednesday, September 2nd at 7 p.m. is the service. But this is our last one for the summer. As school starts back up, we're going to kind of call an end to the parking lot services. But we thought, you know what, it's the last one. We should go out with a bang. So, Pastor, what's going on at parking lot worship this weekend?
Well, actually, we're going to invite you to come out early as 6:30, and join us for a time of social distance fellowship. We're going to have hot dogs and a little bit of fellowship, and we're going to we've worked with the task force, and they're telling us how we can do this safely. So we're not going to share hot dogs.
No, one hot dog per person. I mean, you can have more than one probably, but you can't share.
But no two persons for one hot dog.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
And so we're going to have fun together, and then we're going to have feeding for our body, and then move into feeding for our soul. It's going to be a great time. We've been talking about this forever. How can we do this? How can we do this? Now's the time. We can do this. We can get together a little bit, share a little bit of a meal, whatever your view of a hot dog is, and then celebrate. Some special stuff is going to happen at this last worship time. It's going to be so much fun. Cool stuff. Tell them what's going to happen.
So during the service, we've been trying all summer to do this, but we
Yeah,
finally
yeah.
got not just one baptism, but 2 baptisms scheduled for the parking lot service. So we're really excited about that. We've got I don't know if you know this, we have our big baptismal font, or I should say our heavy. It's not super large, but it's very heavy. The one in the sanctuary that we use for worship. But we also have another baptismal font, and I don't remember, where did that font come from? Was that one from Martin
Christian
Luther?
School, yeah.
Yeah, so the Martin Luther Christian School baptismal font we have here, we keep it in the big hallway outside the gym, kind of the gym lobby area, but it's a little bit lighter, so we can move it around, and we're actually going to get to take that outside for the service, and we're going to have 2 baptisms. We've had a lot of babies in the last 5 months around here that we haven't been able to do many of the baptisms in person together. We did have one this past weekend, the Williams family, and but we're excited that this Wednesday we're going to baptize new additions to the Henry and Reed families. So really looking forward to that. David Worth's going to be there to do the music, and
good.
Lindsay Galutza is going to be cantoring. So we'll have some a little more traditional flavor on the hymns or on the songs this week. So we're looking forward to that. And Sue Steggy's going to be doing the devotion, and I've seen a preview, and it involves a ring and some streamers, and very colorful. Should
It's
be a lot
going
of
to
fun.
be fun.
Yeah.
And actually, I said that font came from Martin Luther Christian School. That may not be accurate. I'm going to have to check with Jim Breeze. It may have come from another church in the city that closed up. So I'm going to have to check on that.
All right.
But it's going to be fun. We've had a lot of baptisms lately, a lot. And but this is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I hope you can make it. There's plenty of room for people. There is a sign up on our website at firsttrinity.com. Look for upcoming services on the front page, and then find the parking lot service in that list. It should be near the top. But signing up just allows us to get the word out if something changes at the last minute. We'll also on Tuesday email you a bulletin that you can print that'll have all the words you'll need for the service. Wi-Fi is a little dodgy out in the parking lot, so it's hard to get on Wi-Fi. But if you have cell phone service, you can certainly call it up on your phone. But either way, we'll send that information out on Tuesday. So please do sign up ahead of time. That'll also help make sure we have enough hot dogs, so we don't have to have 2 people per hot dog.
That's right. And we're having a backup plan, but we don't think we'll need it.
Yeah, we're hopeful not. So, all right, so that's the parking lot service. Hope you can join us for that. Now, on the subject of worship, we've also got some changes coming this weekend to services. So we mentioned last week on Chatting with Chuck, we got a new mask policy, and do you remember what that mask policy is?
Yes, the mask policy is follow your leader. If you are standing up, you got to have your mask on. If you are seated, you don't need your mask. But you cannot speak or sing while you're seated. So when there are times where we are going to sing or confess, we'll tell you to stand and put on your mask. Now, really, the challenge is going to be not responding out of habit when you're sitting down. So we're going to try to really help you on that. Watch the leader, follow the leader, and remember, standing, put your mask on. Seated, you can take it off. But be cautious.
So, for example, right, we did make some changes in order to accommodate this, because as Pastor said, we've all developed habits in worship, and sometimes you do it without thinking. So, for example, we might conclude our readings by saying, "This is the word of the Lord."
Thanks be to... Ooh.
Right. Thanks be to God. And so, because we're seated for the readings, we're going to change that response so you don't accidentally say that habitual reading. So if it seems like we forgot it, we didn't. We changed the normal responses so that we wouldn't just all respond automatically. So here's kind of a summary of the changes in the service so you know what to expect. Basically, we'll be standing for all of the songs, which we don't normally do, but we'll stand for all of the songs. Now, the caveat is we are going to be seated during the offering song. Lately, we've been singing the offering, but it's a long time been our pattern that we would be seated for the offering and listen to like a choral piece in the traditional services, or we'd be singing along but seated in the contemporary service. Well, this time we're going to just ask you to, if you're in the room, to just kind of silently reflect on the words words. And one of the neat things about our Sunday school right now, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is there's a lot of depth in the words of the songs that we use. And so taking a moment to just reflect on those words while the cantor sings, if you're in person, is a really neat opportunity to get a little more out of those hymns and those songs in contemporary worship, and really try to hear what is it that God is saying in that song. So we'll stand for all the songs except for the offering. We're also going to change the responses to the readings. In the traditional service, we're going to stay seated for the gospel, and we're not going to have any responses in the gospel readings as well. During the prayer time, we're going to ask you to be seated for the first part of the prayers, and we're not going to use our normal Lord in
Lord, in your mercy.
In your mercy, hear our prayer, right? Because I normally say, hear our prayer. You say, Lord, in your mercy.
Right.
So we won't have that normal response, but then we'll all stand for the Lord's Prayer so we can do that together. We'll see how it goes. We're really excited. We've heard from a number of people who are wondering when we're going to relax a little bit on that mask policy, and we've really been trying to follow the guidelines for New York State and tracking the numbers, and we feel like now is a good time to try this, and we're going to continue to monitor and see what happens, but for now, masks while standing and no masks while seated. So, 45, 50 minutes of the sermon, we won't have to wear a mask.
Yeah, right.
It only feels that long.
Yeah, here's the deal. We want to make church so inviting and so welcoming. We are so glad that you are here in worship, even online. I mean, we're so thankful because we know it takes a lot of effort and energy to do that. And it's hard to make it feel more inviting when you have to take your temperature, you have to put on your mask. There's some things we can't avoid, and so we're doing what we can, and we want you to know we are really glad you're participating in worship. It means a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what you can expect for worship this weekend. Now, we're continuing our in-person adult Sunday school class down here in the lower level, and David and David, the Davids, are teaching that class. It's on hymns, and we've been looking at different hymns, and then we sing one of the hymns from class in worship the following weekend. So this week we're going to finish that series. This is the last one. And then next weekend we're going to come back to a different topic that we actually started for 1 week, and then put on pause for this hymns class. So Pastor, remind us what we're coming back to next weekend.
We're coming back to 1 Timothy. It's really a deep letter. It's got a lot to say. I know it's only 4 chapters long. I hope that's right. No, it's 6 chapters long. But it's got a lot of depth to it and a lot of application for today. So we're going to do a little catch up of what we covered last time and then pick up again. But it's so much application. It's called one of the pastoral letters because it teaches so much depth about how we are to live and act and be in this world. I truly hope you join us for that, not this weekend, but next weekend.
All right, so the last couple of weeks, we've been asking you to share your stories with us about where you've seen God moving in your life. And the questions we've used to kind of help us think about that are: what good have you witnessed recently? What good has God brought into your life? And what good has God prompted you to do for another? And I've heard some great stories, some of which we don't have permission to share, but it's been so fun to see those stories, and want to encourage you to keep sending in those stories. And just a quick one that we've got actually in our ENews today that went out this morning. Tracy Bramwell, who is our VBS director, and she actually does the lion's share of the work on the ENews. And so she puts that together for the most part, and then I swoop in and add a few sentences, and she sends it out, and I always look like I've done all this work. But Tracy's the one who's been doing the most work on that. So Tracy shared her story with me, and it's kind of a neat story. Early on in COVID, when everything was at home, full quarantine, we had a concern for our homebound members and those who couldn't make it out to maybe get to the grocery store or whatever because they were high risk. And so Marcia, our director of care ministries, put together a team of people to make phone calls and check in with those who were homebound and maybe in need of some extra assistance. Do you need us to deliver groceries, or is there anything we can do to help you? And Tracy was one of those callers, and so she was reaching out to a member here, and this member had just lost her husband, and her son had come to stay at their house with her, and they had developed this neat routine where he would read Portals of Prayer, the daily devotions that we provide. He would read Portals of Prayer to her, and now that he had moved out, she was really missing that devotional time. She didn't have anybody to read the devotion to her, and she couldn't do it on her own. And so Marcia was able to find 2 people who regularly now are calling this member and reading the devotion from Portals of Prayer with her, praying with her, having some conversation. Just kind of a neat story about how God was using Tracy to connect with this member. And then through that, we identified a need, and we were able to find other people to step in and continue meeting that need. So God's just been doing some really great things. And again, it's been so fun to hear your stories. Now, this week we have a different question for you in the ENews, and then we're going to add a question here today in chatting with Chuck. So the question we sent out in the ENews is something like this. As summer ends, we think back about the summer season and how different it was, and it's really easy to get down and disappointed about all the things we couldn't do. And so we really want to focus on returning thanks and praise to God for what He has done. And so the question we have for you in the ENews is, what's something that you are thankful for that God has done in your life, or something you want to just say thanks to God for from this past summer. So you can email that to us as a reply to the ENews, or you can send it to us directly. But we would love to share a number of different items. So if you have something that you're thankful for this summer, let us know in reply to the ENews, or just send us an email directly. And with your permission, we would love to share it on stream with people to encourage one another as we think about giving thanks and praise to God. But then we want to start thinking about another question that we'll probably be repeating for a number of weeks. So Pastor, tell us what we're looking for in this other topic.
And we're really interested in what this coronavirus experience has been like for you these last 5 months. Has it been really hard and challenging? Have people come and helped you? Has it been actually a positive experience? Maybe you've seen God do some extraordinary things. What's it like now? You're thinking, I know I did this, thought it would be long over by now, but it's not, and you're having to change your thinking. There's been some challenges. We really want to know what the experience has been like for you, and maybe it's going to help direct us a little bit about some of the messages that we talk about in the next few weeks. Maybe there's something you want to share or need some help or encouragement with, but we are really interested in what life has been like for you in these last 4 or 5 months, and what's it look like moving forward? Maybe you have some concerns, some joys. Just please, we really want to know.
Yeah, and it's super helpful for us to know where you're at and what you're experiencing. Right, I think that's one of the things we miss about not being all together for worship. A lot of times we'll hear how life is going in everyday conversation. But it's a lot harder to have everyday conversation these days. So, just passing by one another. So yeah, send us those stories. You can send them to Pastor Chuck or myself directly, and we'll be looking at those. And again, we may share some of those on stream as we have permission. But regardless of whether you give us permission or not, we would still love to hear the stories, just to kind of see how you're doing and what's going on in your life, because it's super helpful for us to know what's going on with you. So please do send us those stories.
Because you're not alone. You're not alone. We've heard stories of all kinds of experiences from people. We've had members here that have died from COVID. We've had members who've had others that are sick and they can't visit. We've had people whose families had to meet outside just to see each other. And then we've also had some really interesting expressions of faith in these difficult times. So it's helpful for us to be able to connect with you in this time.
So we're apparently there's some mics coming, some sound coming from upstairs from the electrician. Jim is texting me to get on the soundboard app and try to disable the mics, but I don't see which one I'm supposed to mute. So is that this one? I think it might be pulpit 1 or 2. Anyway, let me know if that's better. All right, so we're going to get to your questions now, and we'll keep trying to figure out whether or not we've got that sound issue working. It's in the 20s. Did I get it, Jim? Jim's texting me on the side. It's in the 20s. I got pulpit 1 and pulpit 2. Is that right? I'm going to turn them all off. He thinks so. Okay, well, I turned a bunch of stuff off, so good luck with that on Sunday. Hopefully you'll get it fixed by then. Okay, sounds like it's fine now. All right, great. So let's get to your questions. Let's see, what do we got here? Well, first of all, we got one. Actually, we got someone who, Nancy, watches Chatting with Chuck on Friday evenings. She can't watch it live, so she watches on Friday evenings, and she actually called me with a question this week, and just actually yesterday, so we haven't been able to get a good answer, but the question was, have we heard from our friends in Haiti or the Dominican recently? There was a hurricane that kind of came through. Do we have any update on that?
Yeah, I did see some pictures from some of our friends in Haiti of just torrential, huge flash floods. As far as I know, our friends in Lacaille and on the island have come through okay. I know our friends in the Dominican are really struggling right now, not just with the hurricane, but with the coronavirus as well, to pay some of the teachers that help them. So they're always struggling, and this has made it a little worse. I know our friends in Sowers, I've talked to them recently, and their support has been cut in half. So they're really struggling, and they're still trying to carry on ministry that way. But it's a tough time.
Yeah. So thank you, Nancy, for watching in the evening on Friday.
Yeah.
So hi.
Yes.
It's like we're live, but
Yes, hey Nancy.
yeah. Anyway, okay, so let's see. Other questions. Do I hear the electrician working?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I hear them.
I didn't until it was much louder, which means it was really loud on the stream probably. So, but thankfully we got that fixed.
What are they doing?
That's a good question. I think they're supposed to be pulling wires and putting power in so that we can mount our televisions on the back on the balcony railing, so that we can see the stream and the PowerPoint a little bit better when we're leading worship. So hopefully those are going to be up soon. Let's see. My mom misses the hot dog, is bummed she's going to miss the hot dogs, but Tracy's in Ohio, so Tracy might deliver hot dogs, it sounds like. They have like their own little show going on in chat without us. It's really fun. Let's see.
I tell your mom, if she plays her cards right, you'll eat an extra hot dog for her.
I will eat an extra hot dog for Mom.
This one's for you, Mom.
Did you know there's a debate on the internet about whether or not hot dogs are sandwiches?
Yes, I did know that.
What's your ruling on that? Is a hot dog a sandwich?
It would seem to be.
It is meat with bread around it.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe we'll vote on that at the parking lot service.
Good. That's a good
You
question.
know what? Carl Frethold needs to know about that debate because he's actually running the food part, so he might be able to do something with that. So, Carl, if you're watching, find out whether hot dogs are sandwiches. Okay, let's see. Jennifer wants to know what happened to the comfy chairs that we used to sit in.
I don't get to sit down. The comfy chairs, the problem with the comfy chairs are anything that's not a hard surface like a metal surface or a solid wood surface holds some of the virus a little bit longer, and they had to be cleaned a little differently. So we're asking people not to use those kind of chairs because we have to clean them after every meeting or every day or after every worship service. So it's easier for us if people just use these nice, comfortable metal chairs.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because the other ones were much more comfy.
Yes.
But we want to be safe.
Can Jennifer bring a pillow and take it home with her to sit on?
Do you have the chat in front of you?
No.
That's a good follow-up question. Yeah, sure. She can bring a pillow and take it home. She could bring us pillows and take them home and wash them.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Okay, let's see what other questions we got. Marlene wants to know, Marlene Miller.
Oh, wow. Hey, Marlene.
It's good
to hear from you.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've seen you a couple of times in the stream for worship, too, so it's fun that you get to worship with us. So she wants to know if we can, for Bible study on Sunday morning, can we listen to the class? She's not able to be there, or go on Zoom. So, Marlene, we don't have a phone number where you can call in and listen, but Zoom does have a phone number. And so you can just call in with audio on your phone, and you won't have video, but you can call in and enter a code and get into the stream that way. If you would please send me an email today, or contact Sue Steggy. She can get the information as well. And we'll send you the phone number to call, and then there's you enter our meeting ID and our passcode, and that'll get you into the audio that you can listen to on your phone. So yeah, you'd be able to listen on the phone. You won't be able to see what we put on the screen, but for the most part, it's just the text of 2 of the hymns that we put up there, and you'll hear the sound from the video that we play. We play a video of one of the hymns, so you'll get to hear the sound from the video, but you won't get to see it. So yeah, but shoot me an email or get in touch with Sue Steggy via email, and we'll make sure you get that information for how to dial in. All right, that is all the questions that I see in the chat. So if you have any questions, last chance. Before we get to the questions, though, and you kind of previewed the sermon a little bit at the beginning. Do you have anything else to say about the preview of the sermon?
Yeah, the hero we're looking at this week is King David, and actually before he's king, we're going to look at his battle with the giant Goliath, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and what happens, how we prepare and fight for our spiritual giants that seem overwhelming to us. How do you face those? And so we're going to talk about that this week.
All right, looking forward to that. I don't see any other questions. They're probably all furiously typing right now, and we're going to sign off just in time, so we don't have to answer them. All right, well, that's all we got here. Again, thank you for joining us. We are just delighted to be with you on Fridays at noon at lunchtime. So it's always good to get together with you online. We love you guys. We miss you. Again, sign up for worship if you want to come. That'll speed up the check-in process, but we'd love to see you in worship this weekend, or if you prefer, at the parking lot service on Wednesday. Hope you can join us for one of those. Any closing words?
I'm looking forward to seeing you at worship on Sunday, hopefully, or online. But for fellowship and hot dogs on Friday, that's going to be just a blast. I hate to think it's our last one for the year.
I know. We could always change our mind.
Yeah, we can.
And then we'd have to have another party.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see about that. All righty, well, thank you for joining us. I'm going to find the right spot on the right computer to end the stream.
Bye. Love you.